Good day and welcome to the GEF Live series here at the GEF Assembly in Viet Nam. My name is Mike Zetkins from the Connect for Climate program of the World Bank, and we're coming to you live on Connect for Climate's Facebook page. We've been running a series of discussions looking at our global commons. What are our global commons? What are some of the main challenges facing our global environment? And how can we transition to a more sustainable future? How can we take action to ensure that we're protecting our environment and solving climate change? And it's my great pleasure now to have Lucy Mulenkei. Thank you so very much for joining us. Lucy is the Executive Director of the Indigenous Informations Network, and you are from the Maasai tribe and from Kenya originally, is that correct? So maybe if you could just explain to us briefly, what is the Indigenous Informations Network and how are you involved in some of these global challenges, protecting our global commons, but also taking action on climate change?
Okay. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a great pleasure. Indigenous Information Network is registered in Kenya as a non-government organization, non-profit. And we've been working with different pastoralist groups. They're the ones who have self-identified themselves as indigenous peoples. And then we have hunter-gatherers and we have other minorities. And we work within the national level, but we have, since our country is devolved into different counties, we work in about 6 counties. And because it's very difficult also to work at the whole of national level, because our country is quite big, and some of the counties can be pretty large. And apart from working on development issues, when we started, we actually started to create awareness and to give information to our communities down in the community level, because we realized that there was no much information coming from there. The only thing that anybody had about pastoralists was either in conflict or hunger. But for us who came from those areas, we said, no, there is more than that. There is development. They live in areas where there are natural resources, and they are doing their activities, they are living, they are moving on. Why don't we get some information from that? But when we started working within those areas, we realized that we need much more than information. And we went into other development issues. We look at different conventions, because we knew the environment, since they live in very harsh environment. This is where we had to pick up issues. What are the resources they have, the natural resources they have? Why should they protect them? How can they benefit from that? They can only benefit if they are aware about those resources, and if they protect them, and if they go ask for the rights to benefit to that. And that's where we began with the creating awareness and training the communities. And one issue came to another. We started with the general environmental issues. We went to biodiversity conservation, using their own traditional knowledge. They had the knowledge, they had everything, and how are they protecting it, and how can it be recognized? And by the time we came into issues of climate change and wondering, why do we have so prolonged droughts? Why do, when it rains, it comes with floods? Why is there changes in, because the people could tell us, the elders and the mothers could say, no, these days we don't get this, we don't get that. Why? Then as the world was discussing about climate change, we realized at the village level, at the community level, they are also realizing this. The cause and the reason, we don't know. So we had to sit down and put our heads together and start thinking, why is it happening and what can we tackle? And the communities are clever because they have history. It's not the first time they experience such problems. But now the way of tackling them was different from the way they used to tackle it before.
Absolutely, and that is a crucial role of knowledge. So on one hand, there's a wealth of indigenous knowledge that you're working with the communities to identify and harvest. But on the other hand, it's also giving knowledge for some of the changes they're seeing, whether it's environmental degradation or whether it's climate-driven changes, including the prolonged droughts and more extreme weather events. But I think what stands out with your work is how you're working with the community to identify their own strengths and to identify their own resources and to help them map it out so that they can make a plan. So maybe you could just elaborate, how do communities once you have worked with them to feel more empowered, once they feel like they have the rights to the land, how do they then start structuring their resources to ensure that they have like a buffer for more dry years, or that they can manage their livestock to make sure that they can overcome the hard times?
You see, the good thing is that every member of the community in the village have their own roles. And one of the roles of the men is to make sure that the livestock is there's enough pasture, there's enough water, and there has to be really well taken care of. The mothers also have their roles. Their roles is, they have a bigger role, and even their burden is bigger than the other communities in Kenya, because for them, they are the ones who build the houses, they're the ones who look after, the family, they feed them, and they take care almost of everything, apart from what the man is looking after for the whatever. But when we go in to the community, the first thing we do is to map out, to do the mapping of what the resources do you have? What is this that you have? And you'll be surprised sometimes, some of the resources they think, oh, that's just, the tree belongs to God, it's just there. But it's also yours because you are looking after it. So by mapping out and showing them the resources they have and identifying with them, and them knowing you are recognizing them, their right and their knowledge, because the issue is recognition. When you recognize and appreciate and motivate them the way they are, then definitely you will start working with them, and they will believe in you, and they will always be able to work with you. And one of the most interesting things is that we worked with different members of the family. As I say, the roles are different. And when we started training the communities, we realized that the women are the key people to train in the community, because they have quite strong influence. They even influence and give advice to their husbands, but because they give them the private domain, they don't just, because the tradition do not allow them to speak when the men are there, or, but because they're in the private domain, if you give them that opportunity to have the power to know they can say something that can be appreciated and taken up, is very crucial. And as long as we've been working with them, especially on issues of climate change and training them, they have done quite a lot, because they have been able to influence a lot of issues, and they themselves have brought the issues on the table. Like, for example, if at all it is cooking, the energy, we've changed the energy from the old style of cooking with firewoods, and because they can't be able to get more firewood now because of degradation, and we come up with strategies of new models of energy savings. If it is the pastoralists are now looking at alternative livelihoods by maybe even venturing into farming, and they are ready to learn that, and we've taken them for exchange visit to other pastoralists who have tried it and have advanced than the Maasais or the Boranas or the Samburu. So that exchange alone they pick up, because they have the knowledge. They are very bright. Even us who have gone up to university, we learn from them. Because the moment you give them a little knowledge, they take it, they mix it with what they have of their own knowledge, traditional knowledge, and it comes out to be something fantastic. And they can adapt very easily. And when it comes to climate change adaptation, we have quite a series, like what I've mentioned about energy, what I've mentioned about alternative livelihoods. They are also able to do other activities that change their environment, like planting trees in their farms and encouraging them and making the nursery so that they distribute to the people, and they make it even an income generating activity. So they do a lot of adaptation activities that is amazing.
Exactly, and what I find so exciting about this is that as you do the mapping exercise, you identify the resources, and that is the empowerment for the community to then go and work with those resources to enhance them, to assure that they're using them the most effective and efficiently, and then to do stuff like alternative livelihoods or tree planting to make sure that those resources are regenerated and are given more productivity. So maybe your message for the GEF Assembly here, what are you telling the GEF Assembly here?
What I'm telling first, I'm very happy that I'm here to listen to them discuss. We did the council meeting and now the assembly, and the assembly was very interesting yesterday during the opening and listening to different, ministers and different key high-level persons talking about environmental conservation and what are the challenges. And it emerged very clearly that we have a problem. We have a problem on Earth, and we really have to take up these issues. And even if we have money, this money is not only money, it's not enough. Our own actions are very important. And that's why it's very important to make sure that everybody is involved. No one should be left behind, because the Earth, the Mother Nature is for us all, and we have to make sure that we are used. And listening to even also the ministers and other key officers talking, the issues are almost similar. It's only that we are in different continents. And the major thing, there are quite a number of them also who mention about the need to involve the community. But of course we know, and that is the challenge we have always. I'm here also as Indigenous People's Advisory Group for GEF, where we advise GEF on different issues about Indigenous peoples, the programs, the activities they undertake, and to see whether Indigenous people are fully involved in their projects and what impact has it had. Are there complaints? Is there a better way they can do better? And of course to ask for financial assistance to make sure that whoever is working with GEF increases funding to include more Indigenous people's activities. And that's why we are here. And we want to also give them the examples I've given you, how communities, how women can actually influence policy, can work within the policy level, both at the local and the national, regional, and up to international. And just to tell you that even during the UNFCCC, the climate change conference, we do take our communities, especially women, 1 or 2, 3 or so like that, to make sure they also speak for themselves, so that these leaders who are coming here, they can listen. And that's why for us, we have also a number of Indigenous people here who are also here to speak and to be able to make a change.
And that is so crucial, and we thank you for that, to really bring the wealth of knowledge and experience of the Indigenous communities to the international stage, and also highlight the natural capital of Indigenous communities and the resources that they manage, and how those can be really enhanced to help solve some of these global challenges, our global commons. With that, just in closing, maybe a short message to our youth audience. How can young people be a part of this transition to a sustainable future?
Yes, youth are very important members of the community. They are the children, they are the people who are leaders tomorrow. And what I would really say is that the youth have to join the wagon. They have to get in there. That ship is almost moving, but they have to get in there. If it is the train, the bus or what, and they have to accept all conditions, even going up to the village and working with the communities, making sure that they are part and parcel and understand, because this is what is happening down there. This is how their parents went through. They are even going in a better, comfortable way, but it's really very important to include them. And one of the biggest problems, all the communities speak out there, the question of youth coming in to try and take up the knowledge that the elders have. Most of the youth are staying away from it, but we really want to encourage the youth to come and learn and take that knowledge and keep with them and be able to share it out, so that they can also be future leaders who will be accepted at all levels, from the community up to the highest level. Thank you.
And with that, thank you very much. We've been live here from the GEF Assembly on the GEF live studio on the Connect for Climate Facebook page. Thank you so very much for your insights.
Thank you. Thank you.